Yes, sure, here's my website, but ignore it. Like, it hasn't been updated in a while. If that's you, that is a sign. 6 months ago, I made a really big change in my business, which led to my biggest month of revenue ever. I want to talk about what changed, what didn't, and some of the results, and how maybe you can make some of these small tweaks in your own business. So, the big change was rebranding. Now, I didn't change my business name or my logo, but I did change my colors, my messaging, and I fully niched down, which to some people was kind of surprising because they thought I was already in that niche. And I kind of was. So, a quick explanation. In 2018, it was like the summer of 2018, I was like, I'm going to niche down to health and fitness. I love this niche. I love the people. I love these projects. And so that looked like me changing my Instagram bio, the hashtags. I started pitching myself to really niche podcast, doing summits for that niche. But if you went to my website, it was not niche down. My website still spoke to just like online business owners. And I still did podcast appearances on like general business podcasts and summits and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't ever like fully step in and commit to the niche until just a few months ago. And I also want to talk about why I decided to rebrand. Honestly, I was feeling kind of stuck. I felt like business was slowing down a little bit, and I didn't feel fully in alignment with my business. If I'm being totally honest, it was that I knew I wanted to fully niche down. I wanted more of these clients, but I was scared. I was scared to fully commit, which is funny when I look back because in 2018, when I made that first step into the niche, I saw a big boost in my business. I actually had reached out to a friend and was like, I'm feeling like I need some help with like strategy, positioning, all this kind of fun stuff. Can you help me with that? So I ended up hiring her, working with her and her business partner for several weeks. And in that process, that's when we realized, oh, we actually need to rebrand. We need to clarify the messaging and niche down. So that's what I did. And that is one of my first things that I want to point out to you is that if you are feeling stuck, if you're feeling like business is slow, that you might need to rebrand. But we'll talk more about that in a second. First, I want to talk about some of the results of my rebrand. So the first thing is one of my favorite things because of course this is, part of what I do. I have seen an increase in my SEO. One of the things that I teach when it comes to SEO is that the more niche you can be, it often helps with SEO. Because if I'm just trying to optimize my client's site for nutrition coaching, that is so general. It's going to be hard to compete with all the other generalists out there. But if I'm trying to optimize for nutrition coaching for women, nutrition coaching for athletes, for moms, whatever it is, that's going to make it easier to show up in search because it's more targeted. You have better messaging. You can be more specific, and Google loves specifics. The next big benefit was obviously like I tweaked a lot of my messaging, which one made it more clear who I work with, what I do, and that kind of thing. But it also made marketing easier. Like I didn't realize how much harder I was making marketing for myself. Because as I mentioned, I was kind of half in, half out of the niche. And it basically looked like me trying to make reels and podcasts and videos that would appeal to the online business space, but maybe secretly also kind of appeal to health and fitness people, but without specifically mentioning them, it was more difficult than it needed to be. It was more complicated than it needed to be. And so once I got really clear on my messaging, I had my niche. I'm like, I know exactly who I'm talking to. I'm not trying to appeal to all online business owners. It just got so much easier. And I have had much more engagement on social. People are like, I love this messaging. I love, like, I've literally had people say, like, I love this messaging. I love this email because it's so specific and targeted, and it's resonating so much more with people than my just really general content. And then, of course, the biggest result that I mentioned a little bit already, biggest month of revenue ever. And that was no ads, no launch, no special funnel, no discount, no special giveaway, like no new service, like nothing. Literally just by having better marketing and having a more clear niche, I was able to attract more clients. And all of those clients for 2025 so far are in my niche, except for one. And almost all of them, I think except maybe two, booked my highest package. Having that niche, that better messaging, led to my biggest month. I'm booked until May. I'm booked 5 months out. And I mean, now it's not 5, but I booked in January, booked enough clients to be booked until May. Does that make sense? So really, really big payoff. Just by niching down. So now I want to quickly talk about a few things that I want you to think about if you are also feeling like I did last summer, with feeling a little stuck, a little frustrated, maybe not getting as many clients as you want. And this is not to say like, oh, you need to completely rebrand. You have to make all these big changes. It might just be that you need to tweak a few things. The first is, of course, your niche. Do you need to niche down more? I want you to really take a look at your messaging. Who are you trying to reach? Now, I do think some people maybe niche too much. I have seen people out there who are like, oh, I only work with hikers. Okay. Like, to me, that might be too small of a niche, but maybe in your area it's not. I don't know. That's just one random like idea that popped in my head. Sometimes I feel like you can be a little too niche, but if you are just trying to work with like general population and you're not getting those clients, get really, really specific. Think about who you really enjoy working with. Who are the clients that really light you up, that are fun, that are easy even to work with? Then I want you to think about how you need to align your brand and your messaging to really connect with that ideal client. So look at your messaging. Are you using the words that they are using? Are you making it clear who you work with? Are you really talking about the problems that you solve? A lot of times when I work with clients, their messaging and their copy is so broad. Like, even if they do have a niche, it's kind of like how I was. They're a little scared to like make that niche super, super known. So then it's like they're trying to like allude to the niche, but still make it like somewhat generalized. So really look at your messaging. Is it going to resonate with that ideal client? And then lastly, of course, look at your SEO, look at your website. How does that also resonate with your audience? Because I know a lot of you, when I tell you to think about your niche, to think about your messaging, you're thinking about it in terms of how you're going to change your Instagram reels, how you're going to show up on Instagram stories, maybe what you're going to talk about in your emails or on threads or your podcast. And that's great, but the website and the SEO also needs to match. Like, when we go from your Instagram to your website, we want it to feel cohesive, not just with graphics and your name, but we want it to feel cohesive in terms of messaging. And so if you are talking specifically about PCOS or moms of toddlers, we want to see that same or similar messaging on the website and in your SEO. Yes, it's good to update, obviously, how you're showing up on social, but do not ignore the website piece of it. Again, if you are feeling stuck, if you feel like sales are slow, if you feel like you're lacking clarity, if it's hard to show up, if it's hard to come up with content ideas, if you are embarrassed to send out your website, if you feel like you have to explain your website when you are sending it to somebody, or you're like, oh, yes, sure, here's my website, but ignore it, like it hasn't been updated in a while. If that's you, that is a sign. That is a sign that something needs to change. Maybe you have pivoted, maybe you have evolved, and that is not represented in your brand and your website. It might be time for a rebrand. If you have questions, let me know down in the comments. Or if you have made a shift and you're like, yes, I have experienced this too, share your story in the comments to encourage others who might also be scared to make a change. Otherwise, I will see y'all in the next video.